What up, y'all? This is your Don Israel coming to you live from Lit, asking y'all to subscribe to the channel. So make sure y'all subscribed, make sure y'all liking the videos, make sure y'all commenting, and make sure you turn on your notifications that let you know when new videos are dropping. We're dropping them daily, and you want to be on it because we on it, all right? So keep it lit, keep it locked, subscribe, we out. Marduce is a drink. What's going on, y'all? This is your boy, Don Israel, back again with another episode of Lit, the premier platform for all things literary, swaggy, and otherwise. As you see, my bottle says Liddy Fontaine, and we here with the equally swaggy Nicole ×2, Nicole Sealey. This is her second interview because we fucked up the first one with the sound, but she's back again, as graceful as ever, and I think God made this happen the second time because the first time you came, you had the galleys.
I did.
But she came lined up with the real deal.
With the hardback.
Everything. So thank you for coming back again.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. You came back twice as swaggy. So we need you to stand up.
Okay.
And we go through the fit. And we got a new swag can. We got sound checks. You helped us improve a lot since we got back here. Sorry. So take us through the fit.
So these are Coach,
Ooh.
but not from Coach, from Housing Works, a thrift shop.
Okay.
And if you don't know about Housing Works, it is a nonprofit,
Okay.
and it has resources to help people living with HIV. So every book that you buy, every piece of clothing item that you buy from their thrift shop next door goes directly to helping people living with HIV. So that's good. And this is Calvin Klein.
You the CK.
No.
CK'd
They
up.
should be paying me for this.
Yes.
And plus I got my lip pen.
From last time.
Yes.
All right, now then let's talk about the jewels. I like the accessories.
Little bracelet, little watch.
Yeah.
Glasses on this time, trying to look smart.
And then I love the hair.
Thank you.
The hair is amazing.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming again.
Happy to be here.
Yes. So since you've been gone, we've shifted a lot of things around. So we start with the Marduces.
Oh, we start with
that. So we want to get the oil going sooner than later, right?
So
you know how I don't gotta walk you through this.
All right, drink it down to the end.
She knows. So we ain't gotta do more. All right.
My hands are greasy.
Just got you. Okay, I don't know if this is a.
There you go.
There you go. These are some super tight.
There you go.
All right. We gonna
being skimpy with the.
all right. I don't. You never know. It's 2:00 in the afternoon. I don't know what the rest of your day looking like. I ain't trying to have you stumbling out of here.
You're right.
So, all right. Cheers.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. That's yummy. Again, that's yummy.
So, let's get back to what we had.
Where did we leave off?
Where did we have? All right. So, you are from a particular town that I can't remember the name, but it was like Crackalacka.
No, it was not Crackalacka.
What was it?
I was born in St. Thomas, the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Okay, yes.
And raised in Apopka.
Okay.
Apopka, Florida.
Okay, Apopka, Florida. My bad.
And from what I've read, it's like Native American for potato eating people, but I'm not sure how true that is. So potato eating people, Apopka, Florida.
Yeah, and then I remember you said I know your father's from
Antigua.
Your mother is Puerto Rican.
From St. Croix.
Puerto Rican from St. Croix.
Yeah, her people are from Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And then they met in St. Thomas.
Okay.
Yeah. And then my stepdad is from Opelika, Florida. So he real country.
Opelika.
Yes.
Florida. Who names these towns? That was a Native American name.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get into this. Let's get into this ordinary beast. Let's just jump into it. You got 4 heavyweights co-signing this book: Claudia Rankin, Patricia Smith, Tracy K. Smith, who just became appointed basically the poet of poets in the U.S. And Natasha Trethway.
Yeah.
So, how did this book come about? Give me the origins of this book.
I'm so thankful to have these blurbers. I couldn't have asked for better blurbers, better blurbs. Say that 3 times fast. Their blurbs are just so generous, and I'm just so thankful to have them on the book for Black women who I so respect and whose work I enjoy. The book itself is years old, many years old. I mean, the oldest poem inside is probably from 2004 or 5.
Wow.
So I've been working on it for a minute. And the youngest poem probably was written earlier this year, like in March.
Okay.
It came about, I met Dan Halpern, my editor, at a party last February. We were introduced by a mutual friend, and we just hit it off right away, and he asked to see some of my work. And I sent him some, and the rest is kind of history.
Okay.
But up until the last minute, June or July of this year, I was still editing the book.
Right.
And I'm not even certain if some of these poems won't go through even more changes. So I'm just
between now and what, the 12th?
I
The
mean,
book drops the 12th.
No, it's done.
Oh,
the
okay.
book is the book is the book.
Yeah.
But when I read, will I make changes to some of the text? Like I might still do that. You know, based on like there's one poem in here that wasn't in the galley that you read. It's called "It's Not Fitness, It's a Lifestyle," and I'm debating whether there's a bird in the poem, and I'm debating whether it should be a bird or it should be like a specific bird, like a sparrow or something. Like I'm still debating that, you know. So when I read the poem, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Will I say bird? Will I say sparrow?
Who knows? Pigeon. You know.
I won't say pigeon.
I mean, it depends what you're trying to go for. You're trying to give it a New York feel, you got to say a pigeon. So let's go back a bit. Give me the crucible of Nicole Sealey. I refer to people in third person to make this feel like more like
That's
a show.
funny. Born in St. Thomas, raised in Florida.
Right.
Went to University of South Florida for undergrad, and then first I went to Albany State University in Albany, Georgia, home of the Albany movement and Sweet Honey on the Rock.
Wait,
and
what's that? What is that?
It's
you gotta educate me.
It's a group of singers who you should definitely know.
Okay.
So they're from Albany, but I transferred from Albany State University to the University of South Florida.
Okay.
Because I just couldn't afford the tuition. It was out of state. Albany is in Georgia. I was from Florida. So I finished up my undergrad at the University of South Florida. And then I pursued an MLA, Masters of Liberal Arts and Africana Studies at the University of South Florida. And with that, I had to do an internship. And so I chose to apply for an internship at the Studio Museum in Harlem. And
dope. The one that the woman, I love her. Thelma Golden.
Yes, Thelma Golden is awesome.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she is amazing.
Yeah.
And so I was there. I went in 2004 and interned for them for about 10 or 11 months before I got a job at Poets and Writers. And I was at Poets and Writers for about 8 years. And then went back to school. This is like the really short version of everything. Went back to school in 2012 for my MFA at NYU. Graduated in 2014. Started working at Canem in 2014 as well. Yeah. And I'm at Canem still.
Yeah. As the executive
director. I came on in the capacity of programs person.
Yeah.
And now
you're running shit. You don't have to say it, I will. So, when does literature enter your life in a serious way? How young are you? Where are you in your life? And who was it that was like sort of your torch? I mean, your light that led you in?
We talked about this last time. And last time I told you there was a group of encyclopedias.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a group of encyclopedias from like A to Z or whatever that just had information upon information about every single thing you could possibly think of.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience with like the tangible book. But my first real experience with like literature was probably James H. Cone, Martin and Malcolm in America.
Okay.
And that was at the University of South Florida as an undergraduate.
Okay.
That book really provided me with a deep consciousness that I didn't have before. Like after reading that book, and I think it was a religious class I was taking that was, that particular section was talking about Malcolm and Martin. And after that course, after reading that book, I like cut my perm off, like totally cut my perm off, took out my contacts, took off my nails.
You used to wear contacts?
I used to look a hot mess.
What color contacts? The green ones?
Shamefully, yes.
The fact that I knew that all through, I'm like
Yes.
looking at the skin complexion, I'm like, she probably went for the green ones.
Oh God! And just after, like after that, I was like, wow, like literature can really change people's lives and change the way they think. And so it wasn't till after reading that book I was like, wow. So that was the first time I really was like, literature can do things.
Mm-hmm. And then for you, do you remember what it was in the book? Like you talk about deep consciousness, and I remember like what it was to like be raised on like Malcolm X speeches, what was it, Seize the Time by Bobby Seale, and those books, and having that deep political consciousness. Did that, in a sense, like how did that, like what was your, like when you described being a deep consciousness, what did that, like, give me language of how you understood what your deep consciousness was?
Well, my knowledge is based on a Caribbean background, so I'm not privy to a lot of the state history and continental history. I wasn't actually before then, and so I didn't understand the mutual history of Caribbean people and Black people in the United States.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until then did I start thinking about that.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question? What was your question?
A little bit, like deep consciousness meaning. All right. So for example, like I think with me and reading like the Malcolms and like the Hueys, it was like these were politicized pieces. And I think the one of the differences, or the sort of, how can I say, the reliefs or the nuances of reading Malcolm was that it was able to be personal in a way where, like, when you to read Black political thought, it was just so political that it in a lot of ways did not allow for any nuances of like, all right, like I get how you think the way you think, but like when does that, like how does that thinking, how do you achieve that thinking? And it's kind of like not painted in black and white, but it's like there's very little possibility that can happen in the ways things happen. So for me, even though I had a deep political consciousness, I wasn't like necessarily like anyway caring about like what Black liberation meant for women, or like for homosexuals, or like even trans. Like that was not. It was like Black men was the language, and I'm like conscious, but it was like my consciousness had a very trite and very limited, and it wasn't until I started reading like narratives and essays and things where people were failing, and not like, you know, this sort of opium idea of success. And if we get this, we will, by virtue of getting this thing, we will just become better people, as opposed to like, no, that question of being a better person is always supposed to be at the forefront of your consciousness. And that's why I'm asking, like, you know, for you, like, was it, and I guess I should ask the question better, is to what extent would you say you were conscious at that point?
I wasn't.
Okay.
I wasn't. I hadn't grown up in a household that read, you know, materials by or about Black people.
Yeah.
So, and I went to Albany State is a historically Black college, and I went there my first 2 years of college. And
was that your choice?
It was my choice.
Okay.
It was my choice, but it wasn't until I got to the University of South Florida after Albany that I was exposed to these, you know, Africana studies classes. And I was like, oh, we writing stuff? Oh, we thinking like this?
Yeah.
I didn't know we could. I didn't know people did.
Yeah.
And so that just created a fire in me, and I just wanted more. I became really hungry for it.
Yeah. And then what's interesting about thinking about that is like how much mythology even plays, and like you explore mythology a lot in your work, and just as a person we talk, and you love how myth and history and personality and place all like create people and circumstances. And so when you have this deep consciousness coming in, how is mythology?
Well, I don't know how deep it is. I mean, I was like a sophomore or junior, and and I don't know.
So like public swimming pool deep.
Yeah, basically.
Like at your knees.
Basically.
So when does mythology making its way? Like, does this precede the Malcolm and Martin book, or does this?
No, this is well after when I started really reading. Okay. I think I wasn't a reader back in the day when I was growing up. I mean, we had this group of encyclopedias, but I would go to it for facts only, not for enjoyment.
Yeah.
If I had a question for school or something, I'd go to the encyclopedias and it'll give me the answers that I need, but I didn't read just to read. And it wasn't until I started reading stuff that I actually liked that I was like, oh, there's stuff that I actually like.
Right.
And so myth didn't make its way into my work until I started reading more broadly. And reading. And broadly, you mean like is it different genres? Is it different writers particularly? I really started off with nonfiction books.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that those are the books, and they're mostly speaking to the Black experience, to and about the Black experience, like Walter Mosley working on a chain gang.
Oh, right.
Stuff like that, the Black image in the white mind.
Yeah.
So those are the things, that's like my foundation upon which I write most of my work. And everything else kind of makes its way in. But at its core, it's like this foundation of Black literary nonfiction and critique.
So, damn, and that makes sense. Like, everything you're saying makes sense because there's like these lenses that's on the poetry that come from that.
Yeah.
Like it informs the ways of the poetry. So then how do you get into poetry then? You go from essays, which they can be as long as the days are old.
Of course.
And then you start stripping back.
Yeah. Workshops with Canem Foundation. I took my first Canem workshop in 2004 or 5, and that was with Willie Perdomo and then with Patricia Smith.
Yeah.
And I had always been writing. I was writing more biographies of people. I'm really interested in people's stories.
Yeah.
And Canem provided me an opportunity to write. Like, I just wanted to write because I hadn't been writing for so long. And I was like, oh, okay, poetry. And, I had been dabbling before that, but it's like the kind of poetry one writes when they just break up with their boyfriend and they're like...
Tumblr poetry?
I won't say. But yeah.
It's Tumblr poetry. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's a brand of poetry. If it's your entryway into something bigger, then why not? Like,
okay.
As long as you don't
but
stay
mine
there.
wasn't good. Like, it wasn't good. It wasn't worth...
Tumblr poetry ain't that
Be on camera. So that I was writing bad poetry, but writing good biographies and decent book reviews. And so this opportunity at Canem came up to take a workshop with Willie Perdomo and Patricia Smith, and I was like, cool, I'll do this.
And do you know who they were? Like,
I did.
Okay.
But not. I did, but I didn't.
Okay.
And so I got there, and it was just. They're just so good.
Yeah.
Like, they're just so good as people. They're just so good as poets. They're just so good as teachers. Like, they're so generous and caring and kind. And their work is just so damn good.
Yeah.
That I was just compelled and encouraged by them and their work.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what language How did you understand? What was your understanding of poetry when you first started? Like when you break up, what what was your understanding of poetry? And then how did it evolve into something like this?
Just like really basic knowledge of poetry, which included the use of like the usual suspect words like my soul, my heart, like that. And that's obviously evolved. One should still be able to use, the word soul and heart, but how can we use it in a different way, in a way that's not cliche? So it's evolved over time. It's evolved because I'm growing as a person. I've taken more workshops. I've formally studied the craft.
Mm-hmm.
I read a lot. I just finished, as I was telling you, my 31 challenge. I read a book a day for the month of August.
Poetry books.
Poetry. Oh yeah.
Every day.
Not like
a different poetry book.
Yeah.
No, I want to make sure people understand that you wasn't out here reading 500-page books in a day.
No. So yeah.
Part of it. Jason P. Smith, he came on the show. Asked him. That's my man. He was talking about how poetry is a container. And then what the Tyemba Jess described poetry as music. And like, because before we could read, our language was music. And so I kind of want to get a sense from you, like, what is your language for poetry? Like, when you think of poetry, you would describe it as, like, the craft of poetry is what?
Translation. Translation of one's emotional state, one's experience to something that's readable. I think for me, it's important that folks get something out of the work, that they don't have to go to a dictionary every time they read one of my poems. It's important for my poems to be accessible in that way. And so I want to be able to translate what I'm feeling, my thoughts, into something that an audience member or a reader can get.
Okay.
No, I don't want to add to that.
Okay.
I don't want to add to that.
Cool. And what in your poetry, what's important to you in your poetry? Like, what are the questions that you're trying to ask more than answer? Because I feel like the assumption is someone's always trying to answer something with their work.
Yeah, I'm not trying to answer nothing. I have no answers.
Yeah. Sitting here like Sway. You ain't got no answers.
Yeah, that's funny.
Just got questions.
That's funny. I think I'm asking, just how do we live side by side, and are we doing that the best we can? Like, are we being kind to one another? Are we treating each other like we would want to be treated? But just those types of questions, and really it's just statements and trying to be in dialogue with the reader. Like, I think my book is a conversation, and I say that because there's a lot of statements in it, statements that lead to a back and forth. Yeah. And
keep going. Don't stop. You got a particular statement in here. You started with medical history. Yeah.
Okay.
But keep talking. I'm sorry.
All right. Just like statements that one would ask someone to kind of further pull them out and get them to correspond.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm mostly doing. Like, I have a lot of statements, some questions, never answers.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason why I ask the questions that I'm asking is because, especially like with Black art and Black people in this country, in the context of this country, we're always expected to have the answers. Like, our work is supposed to make people better.
I am not.
No, right.
But
if we're judged by that quality, if it can't make someone better, and like,
I'm not the magic Negro. I can't.
Yeah.
I have no answers.
And
I'm a person.
To be able to do that, you got to be bad to do that. Like, because you have to kind of like navigate out of that trap that tells you sort of instinctively to be that for other people. But medical history, and you talk about just everything from like, you just give like the rundown of everything from having sex with men who had sex with men to like, you know, you don't drink, you don't smoke, but you take Xanax for flying. And I remember you saying you had a deep fear of flying that came from your mother. And you just had all these things that lines up. And then the last line, the start, like, and I understand the stars in the sky are already dead. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, this is your manifesto. You start the poetry collection like that.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I want the reader to know what they should expect, which is nothing. Like, I have absolutely no answers.
Yeah.
I just have more questions to add to the many questions that folks have been adding over the centuries.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the stars in the sky are already dead. What does that mean?
You tell me. You wrote it.
I mean, the poem wrote itself. I can't tell you what that means.
Yeah.
You know, it's, again, I have absolutely no answers. I just think a lot, as do most people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to see where, because we could go in so many different directions. I'm trying to hone in on certain things. Now, I think it's we spoke about like who you like when you speak of a reader and like in literature, you know, it's great to speak of that, the one, like one would read this, and who is your one though? Like, who is your reader?
Yeah. I hope my readers are expansive as a writer of poetry, but I do imagine that when I'm writing, I imagine a person that looks like me. That is a woman that
had green contacts at one point.
You need to stop. I should have never said nothing. I'm so mad at you, and now everyone knows this about me. That definitely looks like me. Either cares about the things I care about, or is willing to think about doing so.
Right.
Someone who is open to learning about other people and willing to visit other worlds to do that. Yeah, but she definitely,
see you go.
Right?
You see you go.
She
know?
Definitely looks like me.
That's important to have a reader in your mind. I'm not like telling you this. I'm just saying like in a lot of conversations, because language is very subliminal, and it's like series of miscues. And if you're not paying attention to where like the direction the person who's speaking is really, you get lost and you think. And I hear all the, you know, you go to a lot of readings and like conversations with writers, and they go, yeah, my reader XYZ, but then it's like when you listen to like what the book is about, it's like, no, you wrote this for someone. And so often people are reluctant to want to describe that reader because they're afraid they're going to alienate readers. But I feel like it allows, it's like, to me, I feel like it's like a relationship, right? Like, tell me what I'm getting into if you trust that I'm gonna be around.
Yeah.
As opposed to lying to me and saying, "Oh, I'm with you, girl."
Yeah.
And then you find out it's like 6 other girls, which has been like, you feel betrayed in a sense, because it's like you read a book and you go, "This really ain't for me." Like certain books are just not written for certain people. Meaning, not saying that you can't participate in what's happening, but this wasn't a party for you. So it's like you mad because they didn't have your favorite like drink there. It was like, we didn't invite you. Like,
I can't imagine like writing for another person that wasn't me, a reflective like me, because that just, for my own selfish reasons, that makes me the most comfortable. You know, when you walk into a room and you see another Black person, I'm like, hey,
you beeline.
How are you?
You can only hope that
hey,
person.
Best friend.
You can only hope that
they
don't hit you with the get out. Like, you know, you try to dap them up and they kind of cover your head.
Don't say that. But like, so that's what the book is doing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm at my most comfortable within the community, within my community. Give
me a poem that you could read that speaks to that community. That speaks to that green-eyed
contacted girl. You need to stop. Like, I'm so mad at you right now.
Hey there, girl. Let me look into your green-eyed soul. Take off those
Look, I
contacts.
took them out. Does that not count for anything? See, that's God don't like ugly. Don't like ugly. All right, let's see. Oh, I know which one.
Okay.
Hysterical strength. Hysterical strength. When I hear news of a hitchhiker struck by lightning yet living, or a child lifting a 2-ton sedan to free his father pinned underneath, or a camper fighting off a grizzly with her bare hands until someone, a hunter perhaps, can shoot it dead, my thoughts turn to Black people, the hysterical strength we must possess to survive our very existence, which I fear many believe is, and treat as, itself a freak occurrence.
Goddamn.
You're welcome.
Goddamn. That's fire.
Thank you.
That's fire.
Sweet. Thank you.
And now, how do you distill this?
What you mean?
You distill because that's the thing that to me that the most phenomenal thing about poetry. Do you need help? You good? All right, it's all good.
I'll keep it open.
To distill these things down to so many words, right? And at first, and I'll tell you this from a person who's growing to appreciate and understand and want to understand poetry. From back when I didn't understand it, it was like, why it take so long to make this thing that's like 15 words, man?
Yeah.
But then as you know, as a writer, you know, you go like to pick those 16 words, it's a motherfucker, right? But the average person ain't a writer, right? Or at least a writer in the conventional sense of putting words to paper. So it's how does that, like, how would you translate that work for somebody who doesn't understand it? Like, how do you get
This work?
The work, yeah. Like your work. Like, how do you translate the work that goes into it? Because so many people,
the work that goes
yeah,
into
so many people look at us like we don't really have jobs. Like,
oh my God.
yeah, that ain't no job.
I know, that's sad, but that poem took at least, I mean, I've been thinking about the idea of hysterical strength and what Black people have had to endure.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it probably dates back to my undergrad years, you know, when I first started reading that literature. But it all came together last year sometime, so it took probably a couple of years to write.
Yeah.
And just the comparison itself, you know, the idea of hysterical strength and the Black experience.
Yeah.
Putting those two seemingly unlike things together.
Mm-hmm.
The thought alone takes years.
Yeah.
Like writing is a lot, is many months of thinking.
Ooh. I like that.
It is like
I need a soundboard.
But really, it's like you see the outcome, but you don't see the process. And
right.
Much of the process is thinking about these things that don't usually connect and making them do so. So yeah, I can't tell you exactly how long that poem took.
Yeah.
But I take very long on my poems.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, one poem I'm still thinking about, like whether I'll read birds or pigeon in the one, but not pigeon, but yeah. In that
I'm gonna
one,
fight for that.
No. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not a hobby. It's not something that I play at. Like
right.
This is a thing
this
that we do. And it is serious because the themes that we treat are serious. Right. And the person that I'm talking to, I'm seriously talking to them. I'm not like, I'm serious about that conversation.
Yeah.
I want to involve her. I want it to be a back and forth. Like I want it to be a substantive conversation in which we both get something out of it.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Time in your life where you had to pull up this hysterical strength.
Oh my, what do you mean? I woke up today. Being Black in America? Stop playing.
Okay.
Like hysterical strength is every day.
Yeah.
Every day in Houston is come on.
Yeah.
Like, did somebody else get shot today?
You can imagine.
It's every day. It's
right.
Every single day.
That's real shit.
Like I have a husband, he's Black and he's my heart and he's traveling today and I'm praying for him as we have this conversation. I'm praying that he gets home safe.
Yeah.
You know, it's every single day.
Yeah. And it's, it's because I would say you get so used to, I don't know, like having to do all this extra shit to just live.
Yeah.
That you undermine like what you just said. Because when I'm saying that and you say every day, it's like duh. Like only in retrospect is the duh happening, but like in that moment, like just to like wake up, like what Richard Pryor says that sticks to me a lot when he goes, like, you know how hard it is just to wake up and not want to kill a motherfucker, like not kill a motherfucker. Like just doing that is an accomplishment.
Yeah.
And when I say we, I mean like black people's, because so much is heaved on our backs to carry that we kind of like we don't even recognize the weight, so we add more to it.
Yeah.
Not knowing about like or not accepting like, yo, this is like what I'm doing right now is
it's a lot.
Yeah. Let's lighten the load a little bit. Your favorite movie is Boomerang.
Oh yes, I love Boomerang.
Let's talk about what is it that you love about Boomerang.
I'm gonna get you sucker. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Go down. Let's see what this list looks like.
Oh, what's the Last Dragon? I mean, I'm really dating myself right now, but
now you come on,
but I don't look a
catch
day
his bullets with
over
his
18,
teeth.
so that's
nigga,
fine.
Please.
I love that movie. I do my hair like that sometimes. Like I
like show enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
You haven't seen it yet, but I will.
I'm gonna bring the football pads for you to wear.
Oh no, I don't go that far, but Boomerang is such a great movie.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy is at the height of his like comedic genius. The clothing, you would appreciate this. You ain't talking to nobody who
like this movie. I love that movie. Like I love. You know what's funny? Who was I talking to? I think I was talking to. I can't remember. But the person said that there were more black publishing imprints in 1992 and 1993 than there are now.
Really?
Yeah. And they were like more black, like the market for black books was bigger back then. And I look at the 90s as early 90s especially, like there was so much brilliant black work coming out in droves, right? Like, and shout outs to like Issa Rae's and like, Donald Glover's and like even like Carmichael's, like, but you look at the 90s, it was like Living Single, Martin, Wayne's Brothers,
I just
Jamie
read something
Foxx.
about Living Single.
What? They revamping it.
Yeah.
They're bringing it back. Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I used to love that show.
Did you see Girls Trip?
I did.
What you think about that?
Let's talk about Boomerang.
Okay.
Let's get back to it. What? I just want to talk about
Boomerang. So, Boomerang, like, favorite character to me, definitely anytime John Witherspoon is on camera.
Oh my God. Bang.
Like, just the, like, and I feel like what those, like, especially that particular movie did is that, like, it showed the, the vibrance and color palette of blackness and catching all these different.
The high and low. Like, it was so good for that.
Yeah.
Like you had the friends that were, the Sadiddy friend or the Martin Lawrence character who was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it just had a broad range of blackness that we'd never get an opportunity to see.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate.
And they were like urban professionals. It was like young professionals.
Yeah.
And so it was like also like, black people navigating that space of like having careers.
Yeah.
And that
being fabulous as we are. It was just such a great movie, and I just aspired to that. Like,
what do you mean by
I wanted to be? Well, who did I want to be in that?
Hallie.
Not Robin. No, not Hallie, because she was a bit needy at the end.
David Allen Greer.
No, but it's like an amalgamation.
Oh.
Like just the whole thing. I wanted to live in that world.
Yeah.
Maybe I wanted to be Eddie. Shit.
You wanted to be Eddie?
Maybe.
Get dogged out. First the Fat Boys break up. Now it is.
Oh,
damn, Marcus.
That's such a great movie.
And then Eartha Kitt was in it. Like that is culture.
All-star cast.
That is culture. Like
All-star.
Eartha Kitt, like it was that movie. And I'm pretty sure people are like doing their Googles right now. Some people are like, what the hell is Boomerang?
No, that can't be the truth.
That is absolutely the truth. No. Because I mean, I gotta think, think about like it depends on who's your guide for culture, right? Because if you don't have people putting you onto these things, you could very well be in that world and kind of miss certain things.
Was it that long ago though? Like,
it's not even that long ago. It's like who were you growing up around? Like the reason why I know about these movies is I had a father, particularly, who like if it was a black person in charge of it, we were going to watch it. So we watched everything from like the Boomerangs down to like I Got the Hookup by like Master P, because it was like Master P, like that's his, like we were going to watch all of it.
So
if
great.
it was black people in front of the camera,
That's awesome.
and especially if he found out that it had anything to do with what was going on behind the camera. I got to watch New Jack City for the very reason that Mario Van Peebles directed it.
That's
like,
awesome.
And so I'm like 6 years old watching Nino Brown like stab.
Oh, wait.
Like, but no, so like that sense of like blackness was very strong in my visually. So when I did not see a lot of black people on film, I just got distrustful of it because I learned to look for that. Yeah. Because I expected it. Yeah. So I was spoiled in a lot of ways.
And I had the opposite experience. You know, I grew up in the South, and so I didn't see many images of black people. Yeah. And I mean, the theaters probably didn't even show Boomerang. I probably didn't see Boomerang until years after it had come out. You know, so it was. You're very lucky. You're very lucky.
I acknowledge that every day. Yeah. I'm acknowledging. And I would say blessed.
Yes, of course.
Because it's like, it definitely conspired to give me some parents who like gave me a lot of gems. So one thing I was thinking about in terms of Eddie Murphy, right? How brilliant this man is. Yeah. Right. I was thinking, I think I was watching Shrek the other day. And I was like, how is it that Eddie Murphy plays second banana to Mike Myers? Like, in what world is Mike Myers, who played Austin Powers, funnier than Eddie Murphy?
But what you mean, though?
You
know why?
No, I mean, yeah. But it's just like, I had parents that did this shit all the time of looking at these things and going, why is this, that, like that? And I'd be like, Mom, you got to chill with all that. Like, Scar is just a darker lion. Like, I would never read that much into it. But I'm getting older and I'm like, but why? Like, why is he the dunk? Like, and then it's just like you said, that everyday strength that like you have to call upon that's in reserve. Oh my God. Because it's like, I'm going to kill somebody.
I stay calling on the reserves. I stay calling on them. Like, one of my favorite series is Game of Thrones. Everybody's talking about Game of Thrones. We just started watching it, but we're into it. But all the people of color either don't speak English or is like savage, or is just like all these things that, you know, once you're conscious, you kind of see the way people of color are treated in these things. Yeah. And it's just, it's so infuriating. Yeah. But if I got upset for everything, I just wouldn't leave my house. So I can't. Yeah. I can't.
Yeah. And you fortify yourself with these words, though.
Try to. You want me to read anything else?
Yeah. I mean, read.
Read the whole book?
Not read the whole book, but read a few poems.
Read a few poems.
Read a few poems. You have. Let me ask you. Did you try to hit like different octaves, like something funny, something, or did you try to hit like the title's Ordinary Beast? Yeah. And with that title and with the cover especially, this was a cover. Like, describe the cover, like the background of the cover. I know you said there was a particular artist that you are really connected to.
Her name is Deborah Dancy. Yes. And she does a lot of book covers for Marilyn Nelson, who is an amazing poet and formalist. But I thought this cover was just so fitting because of the confrontational nature of it. Yeah. Not like confrontation like that, but just like confront. Yeah, confront a thing. So I really just liked how clean it was and how black she was and how her audience is looking at her.
But she's in focus.
Yeah. So that really attracted me to Deborah Dancy's work. This image in particular. Yeah. Poems?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give me. I don't
know which one.
Read the one where we lobbying for the pigeon.
No. I'll read it, but we're not lobbying for the pigeon.
All right.
Okay.
And this was published in BuzzFeed earlier this year.
It's not fitness, it's a lifestyle. I'm waiting for a white woman in this overpriced equinox to mistake me for someone other than a paying member. I can see it now as I leave the steam room. Naked but for my wedding ring, she'll ask whether I finished cleaning it. Every time I'm at an airport, I see a bird flying around inside, so fast I can't make out its wings. I ask myself, what is it doing here? I've come to answer, what is any of us?
You can keep going. You can keep going. These poems,
All right.
they rich.
I appreciate
and
you.
they dense with meaning.
And
So
your kindness. So yes, I will.
This is not unearned. Like you do the damn thing with these poems.
Thank you. Legendary. I'll read one of the legendaries, and the legendary series is just a group of sonnets that I've written, like persona poems in the voice of personalities from the documentary Paris is Burning.
Okay.
So this one is Venus, not is Venus Extravaganza, but it's a like Venus Extravaganza.
Okay.
And it starts with a quote, I'd like to be a spoiled, rich white girl. I want to be married in church, in white, nothing borrowed or blue. I want a white house in Peekskill, far from the city. White picket fence, fencing in my lily white lilies. Oh, were I whiter than white. A couple kids, one girl, one boy, both white, birthright. All the amenities of white. Golf courses, guest houses, garage with white washer-dryer set. Whatever else white affords, I want. In multiples of white. Two of nothing is something if they're white. Never mind another neutral. Off-white won't do. What I'd like is to be white as the unsparing light at tunnel's end.
And what? And you be fucking it up. How? With the how? Like, how did you construct that? Because I mean, like, for someone writing it, and you get an insider of what you want to do with a poem. But when I hear it, I hear the complications, and I can't even describe the way I'm trying to even ask what I'm asking. But you use, like, it's like you want the real thing. It's like, it reminds me of, like, the Diddy documentary where he talks about, like, I don't want the Christ that look like the Phantom. I want the Phantom. And so, like, when I hear this poem, it's like, nah, I don't want off-white. I don't want this white, that white. I want white.
Well, good, because that's what I was going for. But it's a very loose sonnet. It's 14 lines. Most of the lines, it's like 10 beats per line, mostly. But the end words for each line is white.
Right.
And usually for the other poems in the series, I use a Shakespearean kind of rhyme scheme, A, B, C, D, C, D. But with this, it's just all the end words are just white. Yeah. And I was really going off of music. I think my ear was leading me from line to line. Yeah. Especially this part here, which I adore this poem. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be gushing over my own
you got
poem,
it. Come on, man. We got to get that swag. You wrote it?
Picket fence fencing in my lily white Stop playing. Like, stop playing. It's so good.
Nah, you did that. You did that.
Thank you.
So is this your favorite? Which poem is your favorite?
I'm not going to say.
It's your baby's? No, you got one?
I'm not going to say.
Why not?
Because I'm not going to say. I love them all the same.
Here you go.
Don't you have brothers and sisters?
I can tell you. I love them all the same, but if I tell you if I have a favorite sibling. No, don't tell me. If I have a favorite sibling.
Don't say. I don't want you to say.
Everyone has a favorite.
But you don't say.
Nah, you say it.
You don't say.
You say it.
Unless you're mad, you say.
Huh?
Unless
you're not mad. I think
that's why so and so is my favorite. Like, that's when you say.
Nah, you say it.
Otherwise, you don't say.
I think it goes without saying. You know what? You're right. If it goes without saying, then you don't have to say it. Tell me, where are the events happening around this book? Your book launches September 12th. So this episode is actually going to drop on the day. So if you out there, make sure you get this book today when it drops.
Oh,
so September 12th.
Well, there is an actual book launch,
Okay.
and that will be at the Studio Museum in Harlem.
Really?
Yeah, return it full circle.
Hey.
Full circle. It'll be on September 24th
Okay.
from 3 to 6 p.m. I have 2 poets and a DJ, all of whom are women. Tiffany Unique and Canem Felix, who are both St. Tomian poets. They're from my island.
She gonna be on the show next week.
Which one?
Come on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To say the least. So they'll both be reading, and then I'll be reading as well. And then
I like this. You giving a show.
Trying. I'm just trying to be like you. I'm just a squirrel.
Nah.
I'm just a squirrel.
Nah, you the
and
one.
then we're gonna have a DJ Rivera, Della Green, who'll be spinning all music by women. So it's an all women affair.
Am I about it?
Of course.
Okay, I got to make sure you said all women affair. I don't know how to extend
in
to
the program
to the level. All right, no,
in the program.
I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna support.
I appreciate
any other events that you want to talk about.
I have
from
a whole
Canem.
bunch of Canem.
Just anything you want to. This is the time.
Okay, I have a whole bunch of events, book related, but you can see that on my website, NicoleSealey.com.
Yeah.
For Canem, we have just a ridiculous lineup for fall. Ramika L. Bingham Risher, Monica Yoon is coming through.
Ooh.
We have the 2 poetry prize readings. We have the Cave Canem Poetry Prize reading and the Northwestern Poetry Press Cave Canem Poetry Prize reading.
Yeah. And
those are going to be lit. So check out our calendar, cavecanempoets.org. Just go to calendar and then just note each and every one because it's for real fire in the fall.
Okay. Yeah. And then where can the people follow you?
I'm on Twitter at Nick_Sealey.
All right.
Cave Canem is also on Twitter at Cave Canem Poets. And I'm on Instagram. Is there a handle or something?
No, it's Nicole Sealey.
There you go.
See, I know you know. I do my research.
Thank you.
I did my, I got all the receipts. Do you want to read? I just want you to read one more poem before we get out of here.
You pick.
All right. Pick. All right. Even the Gods.
Okay.
Give me that one.
All right. Even the gods. Even the gods misuse the unfolding blue. Even the gods misread the wind flowers' nod towards sunlight as consent to consume. Still, you envy the horse that draws their chariot, bone of their bone. The wilting mash of air alone keeps you from scaling Olympus with gifts of dead or dying things dangling from your mouth. Your breath like the sea inching away. It is rumored gods grow where the blood of a hanged man drips. You insist on being this man. The gods abuse your grace. Still, you'd rather live among the clear, cloudless white, enjoying what is left of their ambrosia. Who should be happy this time? Who brings cake to whom? Pray the gods do not misquote your covetous pulse for chaos, the black from which they were conceived. Even the eyes of gods must adjust to light. Even gods have gods.
That's the one. That's the one. That's the one we're gonna end on.
Nice.
So before you leave, I need your literary swag.
Literary swag.
Your 3 writers.
Yes.
Your 3 clothing designers.
Okay. Bridget Pegeen Kelly. Carl Phil. Just 3? Like, for real? Okay. Tracy K. Smith. Patricia Smith.
Okay. And the swag.
Okay. Diane von Furstenberg.
Okay.
Don't sleep on a thrift shop. Like,
I'm not sleeping. I'm up.
I'm talking to y'all.
Okay.
Thrift shops, period.
Yeah.
And obviously Calvin Klein, because I stay in
the CK.
Yeah.
All right, now. So this has been another episode of Lit. I am once again your host, Yadon Israel, a.k.a. Liddy Fontaine. Pretty Liddy's what they call me. And we had another wonderful chop up with the lovely Nicole Sealey. You can follow her where she said, if you see her, no, she ain't wearing green contacts no more. That's going to be the running joke forever.
No.
Buy the book, Ordinary Beast, is going to be in stores. The price tag? What, $24.95?
Yep.
It's worth it. I know some of y'all clutching your pearls, but grab that wallet.
There's an ebook too. So
how much is that?
I think that's $16.
Buy it. Either way, grab that wallet. Make the wallet work. All right. So this has been another episode of Lit. Follow us at Lit Platform. Follow me at Yadon. Follow Pink Pig Productions at Pink Pig Pro, and then follow my man Surreal Jews on the music tip. Surreal Jews. We out. It's lit, baby.